Hello, everyone. This is John from AU Pack Mule, and today I have a special live stream about Game of Thrones Season 8 with two of my favorite YouTubers, Catherine Cronall and Clare Grey the Oracle, of course. Both of them are the Nail Queens as well. So we'll be talking all different colors of Game of Thrones. No, I'm just kidding. But we do have a great couple of guests here today, and I hope you guys are ready because they definitely know their stuff. They've been working together for a long time on read-throughs on Sunday mornings, and I've enjoyed that more than anything. So I'd like to start with Catherine, since you have your cup to your mouth.
Thanks. Thank you.
Would you like to say hello to everyone?
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody in the chat. I can see loads of people, Renee and Mackenzie and Mo and Catherine, and I've probably missed a load of people, so I shouldn't have started naming them. Bubba and Airtac. Hi, everybody. Most of you will know me as Mrs Cronall in the chat, but this is like Catherine Cronin. There I am. I'm two people. But
yes,
thank you so much, AU, for having us on. This is great.
Oh, that's totally my pleasure.
But can I correct one thing? Because Claire is the expert, not me.
Well, I think you both have expertise, and I'll leave it at that. Clare, the Oracle, would you like to say hello to everybody? Because I know they want to say hello to you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone in the chat. And yes, I turn up where Cat is, really. The two of us come as a little package. We've been doing the reread for, I couldn't believe it was a year and a half. Mm-hmm. When we kind of wrapped it all up at the end of Dance. Yeah, a year and a half of Sunday evening 2-hour chats, 5 chapters at a time, really breaking it down, and it's been thoroughly enjoyable. So
I think it's about 1,000 times, right?
Oh, don't get me started on that.
Claire loves the numbers that George uses, including 1,000 and half 100, and yeah, it's so great. How long have I been watching you on YouTube, Claire? Has it been 6 years?
Well,
at least, right?
Yeah, I think we've all been part of this community probably for at least 6 or 7 years, I would think.
I was going to say maybe 7.
Yeah. It's going back to, well, what are we on? Probably towards the end of season 1, I think I started watching YouTube, and I found Tony Teflon and all of the old like small council members, LaDonna and James Johnson, the old
Charlie,
crew from Charlie, wow, from a long time ago. So, and I remember Catherine being
Tony just appears. He just mentioned
his
name.
Hi, Tony. Yeah. What is it? You say Stannis 3 times and he appears like Beetlejuice. And then I kind of wanted to start my own YouTube channel, but not necessarily a Game of Thrones channel. But my other passion is a kind of niche of the beauty-related community, nail polish, nail art. And when I started my channel, I thought, well, not many people, but there's going to be some people there that will turn up and go, this isn't Game of Thrones. This isn't A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm out of here. But I noticed that Catherine stuck around for a while. I remember, I know this name, Cronall. I know this name from like chats and live streams. And it turns out that if you think about a Venn diagram, 2 communities, you've got the nail art, nail polish community, and then the Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire community. And in the middle, there is this tiny sort of crossover where myself and Catherine sit. So Catherine stuck around with the nail polish and the YouTube channel, started her own YouTube channel, and then we started doing lots of work together. So it's been an amazing 4 or 5 years in both communities, the Game of Thrones community and the nail polish community. But we now are House Polished. I'll let Catherine tell you about House Polished.
Yeah, before I do, Tony AU named Clare the Oracle. a long time ago. I can't even remember when that started, but yeah, a long time ago. And I should say, Tony was the first one I found on YouTube. I think everybody has that common story. And that's how I found the small council and all that kind of thing. LaDonna and Claire and everybody from that. But yeah, House Polished is Claire and Lisa and myself. And Lisa hasn't read the books. She has her own nail polish channel. She hasn't read the books, but she's a huge fan of the show. So we reviewed season 7 together, and now we've been patiently waiting for season 8 to work again. So we'll be back on April 6th. We're going to do our pre-show stream. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But I kind of follow Claire. Whatever Claire says, I kind of agree with.
Why wouldn't
That's
you,
the best way to do it. Yeah, exactly.
I think Tony and I both have watched all of your nail art videos, which is really weird because I thought I was the only crazy guy, but then I realized, you know, Tony's there too. So
there's something really calming about the way Claire does her videos. It's the accent. It's everything. I know I'm going to make you blush now. She's squirming.
No, it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Definitely.
I keep going, there is no other colors. What are you going to do next? But she always comes up. Oh, I will combine them. Yes, I will. Oh, those ones got sparkles. No, we have stamps. So then it's just unlimited, you know, totally unlimited. I'm waiting for the Van Gogh edition, you know.
Well, some of Catherine's nail art is incredible, and she does a lot of Game of Thrones nail art as well. So I don't know if you can. Are you wearing the?
Oh, I already changed my nail art for today. I'm sorry, AU, you're already gone. You're already off the nails. So if you go to my Instagram, AU's this morning.
Yeah, that was what I woke up to this morning, is seeing my name on Catherine's nail. That was the highlight of my week, actually. We're definitely going to have a servant come in and serve you some more tea. That's just unnecessary.
Crazy. Usually I have a hand that does that for me. Can I just say a shout out to Sunshine and Silver Arrow?
Oh,
thank you so much, because there have been a couple of people that have been time stamping, but Sunshine and Silver Arrow has been the main one, time stamping all our past discussions. Something I should have done from the start, but now they're doing it for me. So thank you so much. As they're going back and discovering our chats, they're doing that. So thank you very, very much for doing that.
Yeah, I'm always getting great comments. It's like another family member, isn't it? So we have obviously the last season of Game of Thrones. We've been covering this for, you know, like we talked about earlier, 6-7 years. Tony obviously was longer, and I've been a fan of the show since the beginning. What is it that you're feeling going into season 8? If I could start with Claire, since she's been covering this so long.
You know, I think because we've been so deep in the reread and focused on the book side of the story, because to me it's two separate stories now. I don't think we can deny that. I've been focused much more on the book side of things. So I've kind of, this sounds ridiculous. I'm aware that this show is about to air, and I know that it's the final season, but it really only hit me, I think, probably a couple of days ago, where I suddenly thought, oh my God, it really is. And oh my God, we're only going to get 6 episodes. Oh my God. And I think whatever happens when all is said and done, I think my final thought watching the final moments of the finale of this final season will be, at least we've got Winds of Winter. At least we've got, I'm just going to go back to the books. It's just going to be that, okay, that was great. That was enjoyable. Whatever happened, but this is the story that I'm interested in. I know I'm going to sound really book snobby saying that. I do enjoy the show. I do enjoy the TV show, but I haven't Like, for example, I haven't gone back and rewatched season 7 or any of the other seasons in preparation for season 8. I'm just going to go straight into it.
Huh?
Yeah. So I am going to enjoy it, and I've got a few things that I've kind of thought, and I've watched everybody's breakdown of the trailer, and I'm looking forward to it. But I think in reality, the fact that it is just the final few hours that we're going to get this visual experience on the screen, it just hit me a couple of days ago. And to be honest with you, I'm panicking a little bit now.
Is that because I sent you a long list of questions for Saturday?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, sorry. I don't know about you, Claire, but I feel that the reread, because we just finished it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I feel like it just further helped me like to separate the two. Yeah. Like for now, they're really separate. And I did go back and watch season 7 since we finished the reread, and they really have separated completely in my mind now. And I love them both. I love the books more, but I do love them both. I'm not a TV show hater at all. I really, for the most part, love the show because I can separate it so clearly now in my mind. Yeah. For me, it's just totally different. So I'm really looking forward to season 8. I can't wait. So I'm mainly because I'll be able to watch it now as well, because I'll be off on the Monday, so it's good. And I got Sky, which is helpful. Now I can watch it properly. But yeah, so
what is Sky?
I really look forward to it. It's Sky TV. It's like they get the HBO. Yeah, they get HBO and Showtime and stuff like that.
Nice.
So we don't have a TV, so I have to watch everything online.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, so so it'd be pointless us having a TV, everything being bloody German.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Catherine is in Switzerland, Claire is in the UK, and I'm in Seattle, so the time differences are pretty far apart. And there isn't anything I wouldn't do to be on this YouTube channel with them. So it was like 6 in the morning when we started. So definitely enjoy both of your creations. You two working together has been so much joy. Waking up Sunday morning and having you two on has been great. And the actual content that you make besides this is phenomenal too. I don't think I've seen anybody that works so hard on another channel like that. It's just great. So I love it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. One of the things that I would really like to hear is if you two have a specific idea of what is George telling us in this series. You've read the books, you've seen the show. I don't think anyone's really studied it more than you two. And there's definitely nobody I would trust answering this question on a taking a big look at it. What would you say?
Convenient time for Catherine to leave.
No, she's getting tea. It's okay.
Is she getting tea? Right. Okay. I think, I mean, in terms of the end game, I don't know. And I think he has an idea, but he's, the gardener approach to writing. So there's I wouldn't be able to say this is what I think the conclusion to the story is. I think the enjoyment that we get out of it as readers, and the purpose and the reason that it's so enjoyable is because of the different multi-layers to it. I think that's why it appeals to a much wider readership, because this is not my type of genre of books at all. I've just like fantasy, sci-fi, maybe sci-fi from a TV show point of view, but certainly not. I'm not a kind of book geek for this genre whatsoever. So the thing that grabbed me really, which is part of this kind of multi-level experience to it, is the political side of it, the kind of pseudo historical side of the story. But again, that appeals to me because I've studied history and politics, for example. So that's a natural kind of, that's an area that interests me. But then there's always, I call it the kind of soap opera aspect to it, which is the marriages and the romances and the battles and the swashbuckling and everything. Yes, that's enjoyable, and it brings the story to life, and it gives you that kind of, you know, on the edge of your seat cliffhanger to the end of a chapter or the end of an episode if it's the TV show. But really what pulls me back and what pulls me in every time is that aspect of the wider, you know, the helicopter view, really, which encompasses the historical and the political aspects to the story, and just the potential of change. What is going to change? I mean, I don't know. I think I'm quite, perhaps not as much as Kat, but there is a bit of a kind of nihilism to like aspect to thinking about this, where it's like, I was actually listening. I was just walking Marwin the dog before we started the podcast, and I was listening to your interview with Grey Area, talking about the end, you know, what you expect from the end, and the big. And I just thought, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen at the end. I think for me, at the very least, we need some storytellers at the end of this story to let everybody else know this is what happened in this time. You know, we've had there's a name for things. We've had the Age of Heroes. I don't know what we're going to look back on. Is this the era of magic, or magic being something that's perhaps acceptable? So somebody has to write that story. That's got to be part of the bittersweet element of it. So for me, everybody can die apart from Tyrion, Sam, possibly.
You better say Davos.
And somebody who has the potential to tie things together and lead, possibly Sansa. If those three were the only three surviving at the end of this story, that wouldn't be too bad. That wouldn't be too bad for me. Davos will survive, of course.
Thank you.
I don't know if that answered your question, AU. Apologies, but I think just generally what I get from the story is that.
Gotcha. Well, I wasn't really looking for an end game prediction as much as I was trying to understand what you thought George was telling us in regards to, let's say, war or politics or ambition, or was, you know, because it is called A Song of Ice and Fire, obviously there is a back and forth version of something he's trying to tell that's much deeper than, you know, don't sleep with your sister, I guess is the best way to put it.
It's pretty long morality tale for that one point. I don't know if he needs to be saying, like, I think he's saying a lot of things. This is his, like, you know, this is the magnus opus, right? This is the big thing for him. I mean, there's a couple of things on this reread that definitely stuck out to me more than other times. In particular, and I know, AU, you have this theory that at the end there will be women in charge in Westeros, and there are definitely strong messages about patriarchy and women and things like that in A Song of Ice and Fire. However, something that may, I don't know, something that kind of sticks out to me with a lot of our POV characters is how little they think about their mothers in comparison to their fathers. And maybe that's George's way of pointing to patriarchy being so strong that even it penetrates into your deep subconscious. And when you're narrating your life story to yourself, or you're living your life, you think more about your father. Or I don't know. Apart from Kat, we don't really have any other mothers as POVs, right? Cersei as well, I guess, which, yeah, that tells you a lot. Yeah. So it's very extreme mothering roles there, but it just really, I mean, I find Cersei fascinating because she never thinks about her mother, ever. It's really weird. Dany never thinks about her mother. And I don't like, so just about like what George's message is overall there, I think it's so complicated. I think it's just all about what it is to be a human being and how the context in which you are raised can really impact your development on so many levels. And we kind of think, I think in the 21st century, we think of like, you know, parents in a holistic way, but George has definitely shown us that people are really molded by the community more than anything else in his world, I feel, because once you're out of the picture, people don't really think about you. Like Ned is one of the exceptions. There's like, there are a few characters that are the exceptions, but for the most part, people, Tywin is another exception, but for the most part, people, the mother thing kind of, it's something that really sticks out to me. I don't know why. And maybe it's because Kat in the end kind of died for her kids, if you like. Cersei, I mean, at least in the show, she's certainly going to she allowed Tommen to kind of die, I think. And she has a very complicated relationship with her children anyway. And I think Dany, her children are dragons, so that's really weird. But I was thinking, I've been kicking this around all week as well in my head. I really like the Azor Ahai Nissa thing. I'm not sure if they're going to go that route in the show or the books. If they did, I'd like a gender spin on that, and I wouldn't be against Dany maybe having to kill Drogon or something like that if it was a Azor Ahai Nissa type thing rather than necessarily your loved one. But if she literally had to kill her child, that would be an interesting kind of spin on things. But yeah, sorry, I kind of went off topic there. Sorry.
No, not at all. That's exactly what I was looking for. The mother part was pretty interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
I know. I was just going to add. I think that there are some simple messages that we're getting in terms of morality and shades of grey, like, you know, some of the more obvious tropes, if you like, of, you know, you think this is the good guy, no, it turns out he's the bad guy, vice versa. But I also think that if this is a tale of this is how George R.R. Martin sees the world, sort of societal structures, that it's not necessarily about what he thinks should be, but more him pointing out this is a really bad way of setting up this type of society or political structure or landscape within a world, a country, a community, a village, a street. You know, this doesn't work when you get the, you know, there are the beautiful aspect of this story, I think, is the I can't say it, intricacies. No, still can't say it. Of the personalities and the different characters. And that specifically on this reread, this has jumped out to me massively. Like that generation where you've got Tywin and Hoster, for example, complete 180 for me in terms of, I think Hoster was evil. I think he was potentially sexually molesting Lysa. There's all sorts of kind of clues from some of the things that the wildlings say about incest and children that are born as products of incest. If you think about how they used to talk about another wildling from a different camp coming into the camp, you know, just all of that. There's yeah. Also, I don't think Tywin was on this reread particularly. There's something about Tywin that makes me think, I mean, you know, murdering royal babies aside, that maybe he's not such the evil character that I've been led to believe in previous rereads and portrayed in the TV show, for example.
And Tywin learned that from somewhere, and it wasn't from his own father. And like we have, like, I mean, we will probably need to do a series of live streams on what we mean by this and bring everything together, Claire. But we've talked a lot about this older generation Illuminati type thing that was going on between Jon Arryn, Tully, and potentially Tywin, if he was observing this, that's where he learned how to do it. I think Tully, Hoster Tully is definitely, there's something very odd about him, very, very odd about.
We're going to come back to that in just a second, but I just wanted to say thanks to Thronesval, the $9.99 super chat. You don't owe me anything, Thrones. It's been such a pleasure following you in chats for the last, I don't know how many years. So I think it's been 7 or 8. So my pleasure to be here, and I'm so glad that you're here. I also did want to say thank you for everybody that has been in the chat today. Tolkus 420, Teflon TV, T Baby, Talamasca Dan, Secrets of the Citadel, Santa Via Major, Piece of Me Sand is always here on Sundays. Thanks so much. Peter Griffin is here. OTDA is always keeping it down as a moderator for me. Thank you so much. Mo Castillo, Mackenzie Burns, Katrin C, John Del Vento, awesome live stream with him the other day. Dark Mother, and of course, Claire and Catherine, and Christian Oles. And so thank you so much for being here, being part of the chat. And Meridian Mormont was here earlier, who is always here on Sunday. The only one we're missing, I think, is Sonny Frank, right?
Yeah, Sonny was with us from the start. And Connie Super,
yeah. She just lost her dog, so
best
wishes to her. Yeah.
Oh, so sorry, Connie.
Shayna's here also. Shay Mocha, yeah, thank you so much.
I feel like we should keep the noise down because Gemma has probably got a very sore head. Sorry, Gemma. Whisper.
She has a volume, and a mute button. That was pretty funny. In regards to Hoster Tully, what is it that you think George was trying to tell us with that? Hoster Tully. Claire thinks he's super evil, so we're going to dive into that.
I think that the thing is, I mean, we're looking at the events as they happen, shaping our characters as they go. And it kind of goes back to that thing about them not thinking about the mums or the people that they do think about as they're going, as you read through their POVs. And really, I feel like a lot of these events have been set in motion by their fathers and mothers and maybe grandparents before them that have just kind of led them on this path because they were thinking about the good of their house and not the good of their children. So Hoster Tully is a really good example of that. What he does to Lysa, I'm not totally sure if I'm on board with Claire's thing that he sexually molested her. I'm not entirely sure, although I have said that I mean, it would be weird if Euron is really the only one in the story that has that kind of inclination given the amount of characters we have. And I do think it's odd that Edmure was never made marry somebody, but the girls were. So that could speak to maybe Edmure knowing something that, or guilt. I know, Claire, that was one of your theories, that maybe it was a guilt thing with Edmure as well, that Hoster realized the error of his ways with Lysa. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. I think, but I do think it's just George trying to say that you're shaped by forces beyond your control, maybe even before you were born.
Yeah, and just that general, who you think maybe... We've got characters in this story that are pretty much front and center, but we don't get the point of views, or we don't get... we don't even really get that specific of a history. For example, again, the same sort of generation, Jon Arryn, as well as Hoster, and potentially Ned's father as well, potentially. They're there. We know who they are. We know what they've done. We get somewhat of some sort of a backstory through the eyes of other people, but when you actually thread together just when he was on his deathbed, all the shouting for Tansy and oh, you know, who is that? Is that the name of, you know, the whore in the village or whatever? It does sound like he was regretting something. And there's a lot of stuff about Jon Arryn that's really quite mysterious as well. So I think just, yes, they're right there, possibly hiding in plain sight. But I think we've got some characters who, I don't know whether or not we'll learn any more about them. Hopefully we will in the books. But yeah, just don't take for granted who you think is a good guy and who you think is a bad guy necessarily. I think that's the key message, really.
And don't underestimate the motivations of characters that are seemingly neutral or were just looking out for their own house. They may have just had a bigger plan in mind. I find the Jon Arryn thing a bit strange as well. There's a lot of things about Jon Arryn that don't, I don't know. I don't know why you would send two young boys to him at that. I don't know. It's a bit weird. And also with the Hoster Tully thing, you know, he was married to a wench.
He doesn't have children of his own, you know.
Yeah, but I feel like it was almost like they were sending those boys to him for protection of some sort or to keep them safe. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, you got to remember, Ned was like someone that they would send to the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was important to keep him trained in case something happened to Bran. But other than that, not a big deal. Whereas with Robert, you know, he didn't have parents. He had just the maester. So that to me seems like a natural thing to do, especially when you want to tie the South with the North.
But this is the thing. This is why I wonder, like having a Stark and a Baratheon come together. That's pretty powerful. At that young an age, you know, I think there's more, like there is more to it than that, than just like, oh, he has no kids. Oh, do you know, like, why don't you go there and spend your, you know, formative years getting to know this Baratheon kid, you know? So just in that sense, like there's something, I think there's political motivations.
That's an interesting one. I've not really thought too much about that because, like I said, I knew Jon didn't have children, and you know, the Starks have way too many. So, well,
look at how Theon was shaped by the Starks. So much so that he's got this kind of schizophrenic internal conflict about his identity. So maybe that was the purpose with this kind of orphaned young Baratheon, who potentially could at one day be extremely powerful, and the you know, what was he at the time, the second son or whatever to the heir to Winterfell. There's some tutelage going on there, probably through this kind of whole conspiracy around the Maesters. But there's a reason why these things happen. Children being sent away to be wards, or you know, it seems like politically, yes, you know, on one level, this ensures that we are not attacked or we're not, you know, it's an insurance policy, but also it's kind of like going away to boarding school. That's it.
But it also doesn't raise any red flags because Ned is like the spare heir, and Robert Baratheon is just from the Stormlands, who's going to like really like who's really going to pay attention to that. So it's not going to, the Mad King isn't going to look over there and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like they're not taking two like majorly important players out of the game, if you know what I mean. So I feel like Hoster Tully's very good at doing things like that. And I always think it's really interesting as well that he's married to a wench, and this is completely going off on a side note, but there are certain things that on this reread that like stick in my mind, and just like the fact that when Ned came back from the Tower of Joy, did he not like, was there a conversation between him and Kat about him killing one of Kat's relatives, you know, at the Tower of Joy? Was there not? Did something happen there? We'll probably never know, but it's kind of interesting when you see all these connections. Every reread, you get something new, right?
this reread particularly, and just tying it into, I think, just generally what we probably both think of this story and the final season in the TV show, I hope is represented in this way. But you know, don't believe what you necessarily hear, see, read. You know, we've got to question this because of the way it's written through the point of views, and there's a lot of things that we kind of loosely know, even historical facts that are presented to us where it's like, but we know that that person wasn't in that location at that point, or however many thousand years before that. You know, it's so we get a general idea, but just don't, you know,
Clare,
too many possibilities. A thousand theories in one.
I even got her. John Del Vento, the very talented John Del Vento, brought up a good point as well about the Blackfish. There's a lot of tension there between the Blackfish and Hoster, and we don't know where that came from. And certainly there's, I hope we get an answer to that at least in the books, what that was all about, because that was really interesting. But I mean, I think, you know, I'm kind of, when it comes to this, the next, like the last season, I'm just kind of looking forward to some epic scenes. I'm not sure I'm going to pin my hopes too much on getting too many answers to things, to be honest. After what they did to Mira, I'm just going to not expect too much.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I do like about the story, is that there is so many stories within the story. There are so many examples of where George starts talking, or, you know, his characters start talking about a story, but then after a sentence or two, he'll dip into a deeper meaning. And it's kind of like, you know, taking a warm bath. You just don't know that your wrists are slit. And the next thing you know, you fall into a bad spot. So yeah, it's very cool the way he writes. I really thought that we would know by now, really, what, I mean, after 5 books, what George was trying to tell us in this story. And I think Claire, as always, you really did hit on the point. This doesn't work, you know, as far as the way this leadership role, and you got to remember, you know, he wrote this before Donald Trump was in office, so that doesn't work always either. But the idea of having these vassals isn't the best way to run a kingdom, and that might be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Just on your Donald Trump point, he kind of gives us his opinion on democracy as well, in the form of the Iron Islands.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants Euron? You know what I mean?
Well, the people that are scared to vote for somebody else, that's who wants them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very kind of, I'm kind of, as a student of literature, as a teacher of literature, I don't necessarily think a writer needs to always have an overarching message. And with a story so complicated, I don't mind if there's lots of small messages. I don't know if it, like, I mean, you know, I don't think he needs one umbrella idea to bring it all together at the end. Whether he's going to make a political or social commentary. I mean, it is fantasy. He picks fantasy for a reason, to escape the real world.
Yeah, I do like the way that he's presented the fantasy version as opposed to just science fiction, if you don't mind me, you know, putting it that way.
But they all live on a lunar base, right? Under a globe on a flat Earth. That's what Bran will see through the weirwoods.
Catherine has commented on my Westworld videos way too long. So yeah, now we're gonna go back to that. They're underwater, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny because I don't think there is a genre that he really hasn't touched. I mean, we've got the Beauty and the Beast, we've got Frankenstein, we've got, you know, everything that's included in this. Zombies, you name it, he's really touched on it, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Is there a particular favorite character that you have besides Davos, Catherine?
I grew to appreciate Jaime more in this reread. I really looked forward to his chapters. I always look forward to Arya chapters and Sansa chapters also. I actually, up until maybe halfway through Dance, I really found myself enjoying Dany chapters more. And sometimes the Dany stuff can be a bit of a slog because I still struggle to see, apart from the fact that she's learning how to be a leader, I still struggle sometimes with the Essos stuff or Essos stuff, whatever you want to say. Because I just want to be back in I want to be back in Westeros, right? I just like, oh God, I have to remember so many names. And I have to go back to Westeros. It's like, no. So sometimes I struggle with that. But yeah, I think this time around, I really appreciated Jaime and Arya and Sansa probably, and Sam. I love them all, but yeah. I can never pick one idea. I'm the worst in the world for like going through lots of different theories. I'll be sold on anything. So I'm until George tells me what's what, I'm just like, and I'm the same with the characters. Then I love loads of the characters.
Not that I don't want to go to Claire, because I definitely want to find out about your favorites. But in regards to Jaime, is it like a Nikolai thing? Because I think
oh, sorry, you were talking about the show or the reread?
Yeah,
sorry.
The show.
Oh, the show. Oh, sorry. On the show, apart from Davos, I do like Jaime on the show. I love Sophie Turner on the show. I think she's amazing as Sansa. Yeah. Nice. And Macy is brilliant as well. But and I love Kit. There you go. You're getting 3 more answers. Nice.
No, I find it very interesting that you particularly would like a character like Jaime. He just seems to be
in the books. Show Jaime. I like Nikolai. I do like Nikolai, but yeah, in the books, I prefer Jaime in the books.
Yeah, I would understand totally you liking Nikolai. That's not a problem.
Oh,
but as far as the character,
he's no Liam. Let's just put that. I don't want Liam. If you're listening, you're still my number 1.
That's awesome.
I don't have any strong feelings towards Jaime whatsoever, or the actor, Nikolai actor. I know people in the chat are saying it's all about the actor. No. And also, for me, the purpose of Jaime is, if you do a really, really bad thing, can you come back from that ever in your lifetime? Is it possible? So yeah, classic redemption arc, but the ultimate question for Jaime is, even if you do lots and lots and lots of good things, does that cancel out the shitty thing that you did that ultimately, it depends on how you feel, again, about morality, possibly about divine intervention even, some kind of like, the old gods play a hand in this. But that's really all he is for me. I don't get the Brienne and Jaime stuff. Shipping. I just don't get, I don't get that shipping at all. But in terms of favourite characters, Brienne definitely is one of my favourite characters. I think she's probably one of the most feminine and vulnerable characters. Despite her outward appearance, obviously, she's very much a maid. That aspect of her even has been protected by the night, when Jaime kind of protected her. But I just think any story that promotes a woman that has that kind of physical strength and physical prowess, I'm going to always champion that.
So how do you feel about the Dornish?
Well, the Dornish are a different matter. The Dornish are just completely something different in the books. But from a kind of feminist perspective, I suppose you could say Brienne is very much a kind of feminist type of character in a way. The biggest single threat to women in terms of physical harm, even in today's society, the biggest threat to women is men. Mm-hmm. You have somebody like Brienne who can just has no problems with that. She can defend herself. She can just basically kind of do flick. A lot of men just like don't even, and there's just something about that is very powerful for me. In the books particularly, and that balance against how vulnerable she really is. And she's like a little girl inside, but she's one of my favorite characters. I've kind of come to terms with the fact that probably in the TV show, more than likely in the TV show, and possibly even in the books, that she may have a tragic end, and I'm fairly certain that she probably won't survive. But yeah, she's one of my favorite, I suppose, kind of secondary characters. I love Brienne. I've even got a cat named Brienne.
Nice. Are all of your pets named after characters from Game of Thrones?
Yes, they are. Yes, I lost an older guy last year, but Marwyn the dog, the Jack Russell, and I've got a few cats. Who TV show watchers perhaps wouldn't know as much as with Marwyn, but Brienne and Asha. So rather than Yara, it's Asha, and so yeah, two sisters.
That's awesome.
So three Song of Ice and Fire named cats, pets. Yeah.
I'm sorry, by the way, my laptop keeps just putting itself to sleep. So if I dip out and in, that's why. I'm fine.
Not a problem. Yeah, that's the least of our concerns, as long as you come back.
No, I'm fine. It's just the laptop isn't.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to clarify on the Jaime situation, because I was really puzzled at the fact that Catherine, liked him as a character, even in the books. I think we do put a stigma on someone for their behavior, like when we call him the Kingslayer. And we do find out that he did it for a specific reason. However, that wasn't the only thing that you have to feel sorry for him or try to understand him, right? There are so many other things that he does in his life that are, and in the show, I'll just say, killing your cousin to escape. That had to be like the worst, even worse than Bran to me. I just have a really hard time excusing that kind of a behavior from a character.
Well, just because I like a character doesn't mean I like what they do. I mean, I just think he's very well written in the books. I think it's fascinating insight into that kind of character. I thought like his first chapter, like where in Clash with Kat, it's brilliant. It's such a great like opening. Like I think for like the first chapter of Jaime, it's what you want. I just think it's a fascinating kind of road, if you like. And I also think that he does bring up interesting questions about what redemption means, and redemption for yourself, accepting redemption for yourself versus what society is willing to give you. And I'm not saying that he deserves one or the other. I just think it's a fascinating way for George to explore this, because Jaime definitely has done some really bad things.
Sure.
And a lot of it is to, and I think, and I think this might happen on the show as well, but I think Jaime won't go out in the blaze of glory that young Jaime always wanted. I don't think he's going to get anything in that white book. I think he's going to die doing something incredibly heroic, but in doing so, he knows that nobody will ever know it. So it's like kind of killing Ares nobody really knows. It's between him and Aerys. I mean, Bran might see it, but it's between him and Aerys, really. And so I think it's going to be his death I hope his death will be something similar, that he will, because that's going to be the ultimate act of redemption. For me, if he dies doing something that he knows won't get any glory, won't leave any legacy, but he knows he'll have to do it for the good of humankind, potentially.
Right. Yeah, he definitely is a troubled boy, if you don't mind me saying so.
Plus, I don't really like kids, so whatever.
That is not true. That is so not true.
I love my nephews. My nephews.
You're a teacher. You have to love kids. Don't you?
I think.
Well, they're teenagers.
Okay.
I've got to agree with. Massive shout out to Tony, by the way. Hi, Tony. I've got to agree with what Tony says here about Jaime has too much blood on his hands to survive. I think if you. It's really tricky. It is really tricky, because if you're asking that question, if somebody can do something really terrible like that, can we ever forgive them enough for them to survive and possibly even thrive and do some really good things in the world? And it's a question that even in my real life I have to deal with this quite often, because in my day job I work with some really quite high risk offenders, and there's always that question, whatever it was that I did and whatever I do to try to redeem myself now. And it seems to be the answer is always going to be, I'm sorry, it was so bad that we're just not really ever going to be able to forgive you for that. You're going to have to live some kind of like half-life almost, where you just manage to somehow survive, but you won't ever thrive, and we won't ever believe you, and we'll never trust you. You know, that I think that is how a lot of people feel about Jaime. I don't know, what do people think in the chat?
Grand Swing just said Jaime started all this, and he did. So I mean, that is, what he did is what started it all. So he's a pivotal character, and I find that it's different, like you said, Claire. These are the kinds of questions that we explore in our own world, for sure. I mean, are people deserving of a road back to where they can thrive? Are they deserving of our forgiveness? Is there a way for people? Are there roads to redemption open to people? And that's something that we constantly ask.
Redeemed. That's no problem, and he. Cut a boy in half. So that's not the issue. I think, I think the problem is that we see there being no, it's not a matter of redemption. It's a matter of changing your mindset on what is the right thing to do. Jaime always has the right thing to do is to get back to Cersei. No matter what the cost.
But not now, right? Not now.
Well, as of season 7, episode 7, yeah. At the very end of the last season.
I would argue not even in the books, though, right? He's not going back to her.
Yeah, the book is a little bit different, but he still has that guilt about not going back to Cersei, and it's only because of what Tyrion has told him that she slept with everybody else.
That's the most infuriating thing, I think, about the show, actually, what they've done to the relationships between the Lannister siblings. The way Jaime and Tyrion leave each other in the books is very different to how they leave each other in the show. And yes, Jaime has turned against Cersei. He isn't, for Jaime to get that full, like to be the character we know in the books, he does need to turn away from her, and he's not doing that. And I do think there's something about vows here as well, and it also ties in with the Night's Watch and potentially with Tower of Joy. I think there's something very sacred about the vows that you take in those organizations, and then when you break those vows, particularly for Jaime, I think it broke him. Killing Aerys broke him as a person. I think like that, and breaking those vows will break you. There's something there's something like Barristan. Like if you look at Barristan, if you get an insight into his mind, he's he can be quite chaotic because he's kind of bounced around the place a little bit in terms of where his loyalties have gone. And he's always like remained like vowed to protect the person he wants to protect. But it does leave him, I think, a little bit more chaotic as he's certainly not able to lead, I think, very well in Essos because of it.
Oh, I agree 100%. Like I said, the redemption is not the issue. I think we have a lot of characters that we have found redemption in, especially like Davos, your favorite character. You know, the fact that he's a smuggler and
oh, now you're going to get Claire started. What was he smuggling?
Just some onions.
Well, can I ask you something? Because I was thinking about this during the week. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Would it annoy you if Jaime never saw Cersei again in the show?
No, not at all.
Because I'm not sure how I feel about them never seeing one another again for whatever reason. Like, I'm not sure, like, it would be very weird to go through a whole season and not have them have one final confrontation or whatever. That would be a strange way to tie up his character if he never sees her again.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So I'm kind of in two minds about it. It'd be better for him maybe if he doesn't see her, but at the same time, there is unfinished business there.
Any thoughts, Claire?
On Jaime and Cersei?
Mm-hmm.
I felt that the TV show, if we're just talking about the next season here, when he left, the way it was filmed was quite poignant, you know, with the snowflake landing on the golden hand, and there was kind of like, you know, the footage was skipping between him and Cersei. It felt like a kind of definitive end to me. Like, it would surprise me if they didn't see each other again.
That's when I rewatched it. That's what I felt as well. I was like, oh crap, this may be it. And in that sense, and it is a great scene because the Mountain comes closer to taking out Jaime than he does to taking out Tyrion. And I think it's really telling in that moment. It's really telling, I think, the relationship between Tyrion and Cersei, but how broken Cersei and Jaime are in that moment. Yeah.
John Aventi, you do not have to be doing that. Thank you so much for the super chat, $5. I appreciate it so much. Very grateful. Great fan of yours, and thank you, sir. I do appreciate that. Yeah, very nice of you. In regards to favorite characters and different things like that, is there a character that you definitely want to see gone, like, as soon as possible?
Varies for his own good, because I don't think there's a satisfactory way out for that character. I think as much as I love the show, I think they have ruined his character in the last couple of seasons. He doesn't really serve a purpose anymore, because they've changed it so much. So for his own good, and I am a massive Conleth Hill fan. I think he's amazing. I've seen him on stage a few times, and he's just an incredible actor. But I just think he's been wasted at the moment. I can't really see where is his political machinations and games going to come into play now. So for his own good, I'd kind of like Varys to go quickly. Maybe trip off a wall and accidentally fall into some snow or something.
Fall into the crypts.
Yeah.
Tumbling down the stairs.
Or just die peacefully in his sleep from a severe chill.
So favorite characters who you think
No, just a character that you really don't want to be there, and you just want them to go.
Well, I'll be controversial and say Jon and Dany.
What's wrong with that? That's a perfect answer.
Great.
No, I think that's a great answer. All the sappy stuff's got to go.
Yeah. I think
hashtag no boat sex.
No. Can I tell you one thing, Claire, that I want to see, and it's going to drive everybody insane. I want to see a romantic dragon flight with the two of them.
Jesus.
Everybody will hate it, and I want it so bad.
Once upon a time.
That has got to be one of the most anticipated scenes next season, surely. Jon climbing on the back of Rhaegal, hasn't it? Isn't that what most people are going to?
I'm glad you said Rhaegal. Yeah.
Yeah, and if they don't do that, if we don't get footage of that, I think particularly show-only watchers will just riot if they don't see that happen.
Well, now that I know you guys really don't want it, I'm kind of thinking I might write a letter to HBO. Make a wish. Is it too late to put this in?
Now that the show is over, could you do a rewrite?
Yeah. Bring back Mira and give her a better out, please.
Yeah, Teflon TV brutal, said it perfectly. Yeah. No, I don't want to see any dragonback sex. No. Talk about uncomfortable. Wow.
Ooh, yeah.
Brilliant.
Dark Mother, thank you for the $10 super chat. Again, AU with smart women.
Oh, thank you, Dark Mother.
Yeah. Dark Mother loves the fact that I have really smart female creators on, and I couldn't agree more. Two of the smartest. So thank you for being here. And thank you again, Dark Mother, for the $10 super chat. So generous. So, Claire, answer the question. So you think Jon and Dany, you want them out? Obviously, that's not going to happen until
there's two. When you're thinking about the next season, it's got to be, you've got to think about what you want to see and what you think will actually happen. Because clearly the two things, aren't always on the same page. What I think will happen is a lot of the tertiary characters in the first 3 episodes will just go. So I'm thinking Jon Arryn, Dolores Ed, lots of people at Winterfell. We're just going to kind of have a huge cull of those kind of characters, I think. I mean, I don't know what the budget's been like for this final season. I'm guessing they've thrown everything at it. But I think they are going to want to focus more on individual characters and smaller, I know we've got I think it's in episode 3, the big battle. I'm not going to talk about, I don't really know too much about spoilers, to be honest. I've tried to keep away from it and just
the Imagination Realm just said 16 million. I haven't heard that.
Wow.
16 million. That's crazy.
I think it's at least that per episode, I think. Yeah.
David Adams says
you think that's per episode?
Oh no, it's huge. It's ridiculous numbers.
Oh, wow.
It's ridiculous numbers. I think it's more than that. For one series, it's going to be more than 16 million.
Because they were doing 100,000 for episode for the first 4 or 5 seasons, right?
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's stupid money. It's really, really ridiculous. It's like movie budgets. Crazy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Claire.
I mean, like I said earlier, I would be quite happy if the only 3 people standing at the end of particularly the TV show are Sam and Tyrion, possibly Bran, and Sansa. Everybody else can kind of, the sort of surplus to requirements in terms of the future and how things are going to end.
And what will you do for onions and what they're going to look like? What will they do?
And Davos, of course. Look, let's just say it's a given that Davos survives.
Oh my God,
Evie's like a cockroach. He survives a nuclear war.
And a bit of salted beef.
Yeah.
Some carrots.
But I think it's going to be all changed. The wall will come down. All of the major cities will be destroyed. I don't even know whether the Night's King will be stopped or if there'll just be some kind of vague conclusion that, these are the lessons that we know now. Are the future generation going to know how to deal with this? Who knows? I think it's going to be potentially quite vague like that. So yeah, all of them. It's not. I don't think I'm. I don't know. I mean, I'll see when I do when I do sort of reactions and when we do our house polish breakdowns, how I'm going to be affected by major character deaths. But for now,
well, I tell you one thing: if anything happens to Davos, I'm going to lose it. Because I am already not very happy about the lack of promotional images and the lack of, like, I think there's one little clip of him in the trailer.
Yeah. Isn't he the only character that's not on the throne in that series of throne pictures?
Oh, no, don't tell her that.
I wouldn't expect him to be anyway. Okay. I kind of like him being in a secondary because that means that there's a chance he might be saved.
Yeah, if you're up front, chances are you're not going to make it, right?
They're going to need onions for all the White Walker stew that they'll make in the aftermath.
Oh, so
you're missing some Q&As here, John.
Yeah, I was just going to say, PCB Sand always has great questions. How quickly after his first appearance will Ghost die?
Oh, God. I actually put this in our questions for next Saturday. Will Jon have to watch Ghost and Rhaegal die? That's pretty horrific if he does.
See, I
don't think Ghost will die.
I think that, well, we've got Nymeria and Ghost still remaining. Is that correct? Yeah. I think that because Ghost was the firstborn, that he will be the last one to survive. So I think Nymeria potentially, and that could happen if we get a huge battle. We've already seen Nymeria and her pack in the TV show. So something could happen there and she has a big heroic death. I think she will go before Ghost does. And potentially I think Ghost could survive to the end as this kind of, mute but kind of winsome sort of emblem that takes us into the future. And
oh my God,
representing magical beings.
Tony and T-Baby are killing me in the chat. Ghost is going to die in episode 3, and then T-Baby comes in. Jon dies in episode 3. I don't think Jon or Ghost will die. I don't think Jon is going to die again. I don't think Jon is going to end up on the Iron Throne. I think he'll fly or walk slowly off and broodingly off into the sunset. I don't know if they would kill him twice. Maybe they would, but I don't know if that's. I'm not really married either way to him living or dying. Right. Jon has been through a lot, right. So he might. Yeah.
What is dead will never die, right? To quote that Greyjoy saying.
There you go. There's one who I think will go pretty much quite in the first episode. Theon.
Wow.
Theon. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'm so lost in the whole Greyjoy thing. I feel like in the overall scheme of things, I'm not really sure how much the show will spend on it, to be honest. But
it is interesting that he added that to the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it added an awful lot of complication.
Yeah.
Well, if you think of the trailer for the next season for the TV show, it just seems very complicated. Clearly, what they've done is they've tried to amalgamate several sort of story arcs within the books. But that shot of the Iron Fleet and what looks like the Golden Company, or as I am now calling them, the Golden Plated Company, because I just don't think there'd be anything like the Golden Company from the books.
Right.
I'm hoping. I can't remember whose live stream this was, but we were talking about the trailer. And I'm like, who's with me? I would like to see a massive ice kraken or a whited kraken.
Oh, yes.
Emerge from the waters and just completely annihilate the Golden Plated Company and the rest of Euron's Iron Fleet. Yeah, that's what I want to see. An ice kraken destroy the whole fleet. Yeah. Who's with me?
Yeah, more chance of onion stew White Walker.
Exactly.
What was that budget again?
I think it's very telling that we haven't seen Greyjoys in the trailer. It may be that we don't see them until the latter part, or till the King's Landing action kicks in after Winterfell. And I don't know how realistic it is. It just occurred to me, but will Theon be instrumental in helping take down Euron in King's Landing? Will he do something kind of sneaky? And I don't know. I'd like to think there's something for Alfie Allen's character to do, because Alfie Allen is amazing and he's definitely one of the best actors on this show. But the last season, he didn't really have much to do. That scene with Jon was amazing. The Greyjoy Stark scene, I loved that conversation. It was great. But it would be nice for him to come back and do something instrumental in the end, even at the cost of his own life, because I think that would be really good for him, for his character, and Alfie Allen would knock it out of the park. So it would be great if Theon took down Euron in some way.
That would be pretty epic. Because I just think... Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. No, I was just going to say there's a reason we haven't seen them in the trailers is all. Yeah.
Do you have a prediction for the Greyjoys, Claire? Besides the ice kraken?
I mean, yeah, I'd love to think that Asher takes that entire culture, you know, Ironborn civilization forward into the future, but I don't know. It's always been disputed, hasn't it? That region. So I don't know what's going to happen with the guy. I don't think there'll be many Greyjoys left at the end. I think Euron and his Iron Fleet will be pretty much decimated by the end of the end of this next season, the final season. I can't even. Where is? Have we seen Yara / Asher recently?
So Euron took her. So in the show, yes, Euron took her. So Theon was going to get her
rescue
back.
Her.
Yeah.
So she's just with Euron at the moment.
So this is the thing: will she turn up without a tongue? And will Theon or will Tyrion lose his tongue? This is the thing as well, because that's your big thing in the books, which I totally agree with, that he'll lose it in the books. But I'd be interested if Yara loses hers as well, because both of them are very vocal characters and they're both known for being very sharp and very sarcastic and very cutting. So it would be interesting if they went there.
I think only one of those two siblings can survive, either Theon or Asher, as Tony says in the comments. Only one of them will survive, and personally, I would prefer it to be Yara, because I think, again, Theon is that similar sort of redemption character where it's like you've done so much bad that it's never going to scrub out the good intentions that you might have.
So
well, he saved Bran, so how much bad could he have done, right?
Who? What? Theon?
Yeah. Claire's like, are you talking about the same character I'm playing?
Yeah. I'm like,
this guy's awful. What are you talking about, Jon?
He kind of destroyed Winterfell for a start. He, you know, he betrayed the Starks. Yeah,
he only killed old characters. He didn't kill, you know. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So here's my question based on what you just said there about Yara surviving. And also AU on your theory that it's going to be, and I see Tony, I think, agrees with it, that it's going to be mainly women leaders. What does this mean for like the survival of these houses? Because if Sansa is really like going to be the leader at House Stark and Yara is going to be the leader at Greyjoy, what does it mean for those names going forward? Because do they keep that family name even if they marry? yeah, this is going to have to change, right? That's going to be something that they'll have to change. Yeah.
Well,
so that could be a
Cersei
major like political
when Cersei
thing.
takes the, becomes queen, she doesn't become Cersei Baratheon, right?
Yeah.
She's Lannister. So it's the same thing. It's literally what's good for the queen is good for everybody.
So they will marry and not take their husband's name.
Correct. The guys will, if they want to take their name, that's fine. If they don't, then it's not an issue.
So this is my question then for Tony in the chat. If Gendry and Sansa marry, one of those houses has to go.
Yeah, the Baratheon line is done.
The Baratheon is done, I think. Yeah, I think Baratheon is done.
Unless he decides, hey, this is 2019. I'm going to keep my own name.
Stark Baratheon. Like, I mean, this is what happened in like my own my own family crest is like merging of houses. So we could see like the merging of sigils, which would be really cool.
The wolf mounts the stag.
Yeah. Ooh.
Starathian.
Starathian, yeah. Or just Stark Baratheon would be cool. I think they're selling T-shirts now with the direwolf and dragon kind of mixed together. Starkarian or whatever they're saying.
The introduction of the hyphen.
Teflon says he becomes the Stark.
That would be fine with me. Stark, yeah. He doesn't have a real last name anyway, so it's not a big deal. So do you have any other houses that you want to be extinguished? I mean, we've had everybody from Dorne is gone, everybody from the Reach is gone, except
everybody from Dorne isn't gone yet.
Okay, because we have the Danes.
They're not dead yet.
Is that what you're saying?
At the end of season 7, she locks up the Martells.
Oh, they're gone. Trust me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's just like just saying they're still there.
There's another woman that's
possibly
still alive.
There was a theory on Geek Chat which I thought was interesting. Somebody wondered if Bronn would rescue them because again, he's another character. I'm not sure where they're going to go with him because the actor Jerome Flynn, is it? And Lena, they're contractually they do not do scenes together. So how are they going to make that square fit that circle when it comes to Bronn and Cersei in King's Landing? He's going to be out there, yeah, or he's out there pretty quickly. I don't think he's going to have a road to Damascus minute thing. Though.
He does have the secret pass to go wherever he wants, right?
Yeah.
So you think that's a possibility? I mean, you entertain that?
No. I just thought it was interesting. I kind of just again. I like to look at all the theories. I'm not like I'm not staunch until George tells me, or in this case D&D. I'm not like I'm open to anything.
Yeah, I think Bronn dies at Winterfell. I don't think he's gonna.
At Winterfell, you think he dies? So he's going to go to Winterfell.
Oh yeah, he follows Jaime. That's his castle getter. So yeah,
okay.
That's the way he sees it, anyways. Because
interesting.
He knows that if Jaime dies, he's never getting a castle with Cersei.
But he's also a very much very much a Mayfainer, as we'd say in Ireland. He thinks of himself. I don't know if he would necessarily bring himself north into danger like that.
Hey, he grabbed that ballista pretty quick after Jaime told him to. So I think he's gonna follow Jaime to the end.
Okay.
Any thoughts, Mrs. Oracle?
Just looking at the comments, imagination round Bronn dies.
He definitely dies. Yeah, I definitely think he's going to die. Yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult for me with a lot of characters. Like, Bronn is an example. Another one is the sort of romance between Missandei and Grey Worm. These characters that have been completely like amped up in the TV show because of the likability of the actor, etc. That is definitely the case for me with Bronn. They've massively overextended Jerome Flynn's purpose really in the story, extent that it's distorted it so much. So I would imagine, with that in mind, D&D probably want to keep the guy until the very bitter end, and Bronn will survive and he'll get his castle and he follows either Jaime or Tyrion, because, you know, a Lannister always pays the debts.
I'm not convinced he goes to Winterfell, to be honest. I'm really not. Because, well, we didn't see him in that front line. And I know we didn't see Jaime in the front line either, but I don't know. I'm not convinced he'll go there. I think the Golden Company are coming, so there's plenty of shenanigans he can get up to, and get out and make money. And there's no way, like, if I was Bronn, I wouldn't be thinking, Jaime just went north. Good luck. What's the good of the castle if I'm going to die up there? Because the reason he went after the dragon anyway in what's it called?
7?
Battle of Fire. What do they call it? I always forget it. Field of Fire. What do they call it in
Field of Fire 2.0. Yeah.
It was survival instinct was kicking in, and of course, like, the Jaime thing as well, but he does leave the money to save Jaime. I don't necessarily think he'll go north for money. If he does go north, it'll be to fight with Jaime, but I just don't think he'll do that either. I could be wrong. Like, I think he's going to pop up in the war or something, and he'll be fine.
In the comment, he says that Jaime screams his name in the trailer.
Yeah. So Teflon found the trailer that's in that was released in Russia, and then there's a closed caption that has the English translation, and that's where he says the name Bronn appears, where Jaime screams it.
Oh, well, Bronn, you had insider knowledge then, AU.
Well, I just saw that yesterday or the day before.
Oh, okay, so, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, well then he does go
Well,
north.
if you watch Teflon TV's videos over and over again, like I do. No, I'm just kidding. I do watch his videos over and over again, but yeah, I'm not just teasing you. Yeah, I think he's gonna be killed, but Karen Pierce says that Bronn he'll be in the twins and watching his children fight over his fortune. So maybe
he's like a cockroach.
That's true. He is very survivable. So interesting. Well,
I mean, that's one thing that he that is kind of what Bronn is like in the book as well. He is a bit like that in the book. But they have the Grey Worm Missandei thing. Oh my god. No.
But I just think, with there's going to have to be a resolution for those character story arcs that are not as important in the books, but they've massively put a spotlight on in the show. They've developed the characters, they've developed the story arcs, they've developed the characters' motivations. We've had like sex scenes between Grey Worm and Missandei that just don't make sense really on any level, but they're going to have to. And we can see from the trailer, he sort of, as before he runs into battle, he kind of gives it, and it's just like, oh yeah, I wish that stuff wasn't there either, but it is. They've put it there, popularity of the actor, the character, whatever, and they're not going to just leave those things hanging without any kind of resolution. For me, that's just like, oh, okay, fine, fair enough. How much time are you going to spend on it? How much screen time are we going to waste on this? Just get it over and done with, and let's get back to what we really enjoy, which is the real story and the battle scenes and, what we're all here for. Even
book Missandei wouldn't deserve as much time as Gilly deserves. Gilly as a character deserves a far more time, screen time, and I hope she gets it, because I feel like that the Night King, I'm kind of on the baby Sam train. There's a connection there that I don't think the show has ignored. So that's good. That gives me hope.
You don't think the show has ignored? Meaning they've given it proper attention?
I think not proper attention now. Ignoring, they haven't ignored it, but they haven't given it proper attention either. I think they've done just enough. Like, they've kept baby Sam they've kept the kid the same. So I think it's just enough that the casual show watcher won't have lost sight of where that kid came from, right? So, I mean, and I kind of always have to look at it from the point of view that I haven't read the books, that, you know, what a casual show watcher would do. And a lot of my friends are just casual show watchers. And so they will have stayed, like, they've put enough emphasis on that kid, I think, for even the casual show watcher to follow and to realize that maybe there's something important about that kid. I mean, they've done more than the book as well.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
You know, so I think, you know, that one of those, that scene where he touches Craster's baby in the woods from season 2, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a scene that gets replayed quite a bit, actually.
Right.
So I think there's enough. I'm not sure why the Night King is coming south. I'm not sure if the show will go into it in too much detail, but it wouldn't annoy me if it was because of Baby Sam. I think that's a good reason for him to come south.
In all of these videos that I've done, the live streams, I've always asked, because of the point of view and because of the way George writes, you always have to sift through the truth and find out the stories. Is there any of those situations happened when you've been reading where you're like, this is definitely not the story that I'm supposed to read, or vice versa?
All the time. All the time.
Especially when 1,000 shows up.
Yeah, 1,000 times that's happened. I'm sure of it. I mean, yeah, as you're rereading and you're able to have that discussion with, you know, a like-minded soul. But I'm no doubt that is, you know, when we're thinking about theories and possibilities and potential, but you've got to look at the broad themes that are there as well. And if something's mentioned a certain amount of times, or if a certain reference is really, I think George is very clever at putting something right out there, but diverting your attention away from it, so that you focus on something that is the more, as I said earlier, the soap opera aspect of the story. Mm-hmm. Oh, what's happening here? Because it kind of plays to our natural instincts as readers. There's something juicy, gossipy going on in this part of the story. And actually it's laid, quite often there's some really interesting nuggets of information that are laid right out there on the page, but our brains just read it and accept it and move on. So being able to do that, stopping and pausing and reflecting in depth on each of those 3-5 chapters on a weekly basis has been fascinating. Like, for example, and again, bearing in mind what we said earlier at the beginning of this podcast, how long we've been around in this community, 6-7 years, mm-hmm. and the number of theories that we've heard from all these wonderful people in the community, having that knowledge and taking that into a reread, and you thinking, oh yeah, I wonder if LaDonna was right about this, you know, and when you get that part of the story, it's super interesting on lots of different levels. But I mean, I just made a note of some of the things that I think it would be interesting for us to do a video on this, Kat, of some of the kind of major themes that have come out that just seem to happen time and time and again. You can't avoid them. It's like, okay, this thing, I mean, I don't know what this 1,000 means, but I've got to mention that it's in the text over and over and over and over again. Usually every other chapter, this number 1,000 is mentioned. I feel like there's got to be some sort of significance to it. The other thing is about the religions as well. I'm convinced, just from the symbolism that we've seen on this reread, that there's something about when people say the old gods and the new, there is something there about the old gods' religion being wrapped up within the religion of the seven. I know that sounds really weird, mm-hmm. but my theory, once it comes together, is, or once I've thought about it a bit more, is the old religion is hiding within the new religion of the Seven, and people are effectively worshipping the old gods when they think they're worshipping the Seven. And there's lots of stuff about rainbows and the rainbow light that comes off the wall and linking to the old gods, and the rainbow crystal from the faith of the Seven. So there's I think there's something within that. We've talked about who we think might ultimately be the bad guys, who are presented on the page as actually quite fair and amicable, run-of-the-mill type of characters, that there may be something a bit more sinister. And yeah, I'm just trying to think of any more things that we've thought about off the top of my head. I suppose we've come to some broad conclusions based on this reread, definitely, and based on all of the information and being able to chat at depth, that actually, yes, yet again on this reread, I think I've thought about things in a different way, and I've thought about characters differently and their motivations differently. And I think this story may surprise all of us at the end of it. I think we're being diverted a lot. Even though the information's out there, it's there. And some of us have pieced it together and some of us haven't. And, it's all there, the myriad of possibilities that we can jump on. But I think there are certain themes that crop up time and time again in a kind of symbolic sense, in a literal sense. And I'm hoping that I will be surprised by the books at the end of this massive epic saga. I'm hoping that I will.
I think George is also piecing it together, though. I think, no, genuinely, he's created this massive thing for himself, and he's struggling with Bran, because what do you do with somebody who's supposedly omniscient? That's a problem. And I think where the limit will come with Bran is in the memories that are put into this network, whether they're true or false, based on who put them in, or based on even our POVs. I mean, my life has been hit by an asteroid in the last couple of months, but I don't go around thinking about it all the time. The same with the POVs. When bad things happen to them, they don't think about it all the time. Or when they've colluded on things in the past, they don't think about it all the time. Or when we see them as bad people, they don't go around thinking about themselves doing evil things just to do an evil thing, right? It's one of the reasons why we won't get a POV from a Night King potentially, okay? Because maybe he's not evil from his point of view, right? So I think there'll be limitations based on the fact that people's memories are limited, and people misremember things. You create false narratives in your head of your past as well. And based on the fact that they're just dealing with the day-to-day, they're not going around dealing with, they're not going around thinking about the bad, awful things that are happening all of the time, or that did happen all of the time. So I think those limitations will be eventually what will speed George up, I think, hopefully, especially with the Bran stuff. And we've talked about that before. Bran is a problem. And it's the reason why I don't think we'll get any more Jon Snow chapters. That will be a problem.
If what causes Bran to be the three-eyed raven, it goes away, whether it's the magic, the weirwood, or the old gods, whatever it is, and that goes away and Bran becomes Bran, will we have a problem keeping Bran?
I think the show has a problem with Bran.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried because I think Bran is the big big. I think he's going to be the biggest problem for them not having the books finished. That whole side of the story, I think, is a problem. I don't have an answer better than that, though. I don't.
Good
keeping
answer.
him, not keeping him. I think. I think it all depends on whether magic survives, and it's a fantasy series, so magic has to survive, I guess.
Thrones Fall with another $4.99 super chat, hitting the tip jar again. You three are still going strong. Thank you so much, Thrones. That's so generous of you. Totally unnecessary, though. I just appreciate you being here, man. You're awesome. Yeah. Sorry, Claire. Would you agree about the Bran situation if we get rid of?
Well, I think that Bran's going to need to serve his purpose in the TV show, and I think that his purpose is to help in the battle against the Night's King and the dead, but by fighting on a different plane. You know, some sort of metaphysical plane where he is able to contact or communicate, a little bit like the whole Harry Potter parcel tongue thing, you know, where he's talking to Voldemort. There'll be something like that going on, because
have they done enough in the show to build that up beyond him?
They've done the, you know, him touching him and even getting the mark on his arm, and that, like, you know, that scene where he's like, oh, I can just walk around, look at me walking, no one can see me. And then that horror of like, oh my God, yes, they actually can see me. I think there's going to be some of that. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that on his own, or if he's going to be able to take someone in there with him to help him fight the Night's King on that plane. But I think there'll be two things going on for viewers. There'll be the physical fight with Jon and everyone in the north and the army of the dead, and then there'll be something going on this metaphysical plane with Bran, and Bran possibly will weaken the Night King, or he will ultimately defeat him, but he will also die in the process. So I think Bran will die at the end, but I think he will serve his purpose first.
So except for warging and seeing back in time, the one thing that Bran hasn't done that Bloodraven could do, arguably he could do in the show as well, is manipulate how people think. I think he was doing that in the show too, but we haven't seen Bran do that yet. So that's one way in which they might be able to use Bran. But do you know that this thing that like the show was going to ruin 3 things on us, and Hodor was one of them?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing Aegon Targaryen, Jon Snow, that's the other one. I'm assuming it's going to be this Bran thing as the third one.
I thought it was Shireen that was the second one.
Oh, sorry, Shireen. You're right. Shireen was the second one. So what is the third one going to be? I'm assuming it's going to do something with Bran, because that's the one arc that they need a direction on, I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the Night's King purpose, but I feel like that's going to be also a little bit different in the books.
I mean, if you think about it, Bran's going to be able to say, he's going to be able to do the whole white eye wargy thing in the TV show and say, oh, they're 5 miles down the road. Oh, this is where they are. This is, you know, he's got his ravens flying around, and he's able to, you know, he's like Google, isn't he? He's like CCTV in the north. He knows what's going on and where people are. So he's going to be able to report that back. So strategically, they're going to know, you know, the location of the, you know, the massive army of the dead marching north, or marching south from their perspective. So yeah, he's going to be useful in that respect. But I think he also, I don't know what people think about this. Like, you know, once you defeat, like, you literally take out the Night's King, that's it. The spell is lifted, and all of the other, every single person that's part of the army of the dead just collapses and vanishes into ash or dust or whatever. If that's the case, which I don't necessarily believe, but if that is the case, then it's gonna the battle between Bran and the Night King is going to be more crucial and significant, I think, than the actual physical massive budget being blown on the battle at Winterfell battle in you know, physical form. So I don't know what people think about that.
Interesting. I get it. Teflon said the third one is going to be Jon kills Dany. That's his interpretation. Personally, I think it's going to be what's in the crypts. Something's going to happen in the crypts of Winterfell, because we've had so much build up to that You know, whether it's the Kings of Winter come alive, fight for the Night King, or something's weird is going to happen. But that's my theory.
I would like to see, Tony, I'd like to see a gender flip on the Nissa Nissa thing. I think it'd be interesting if she tried to kill Jon, stab him in the heart, and it didn't work, and then she had to go to Drogon or something like that. That would be interesting. Like if there was some sort of flip. I think that would be the worst thing for Dany to have to do, would be to kill Drogon. That would be the absolute worst thing. And maybe they would have to kill Drogon first and then she'd have to go. I don't know.
Wow.
But that would be absolutely, that would shatter her.
Claire's being quiet.
I know. She amazes me, these extreme ideas that she comes up with of what if we flip everything over and this happens, and you're like, oh my God, that is yet another possibility. Yeah.
No,
I do like the gender thing, and like that's the one thing that like they made sure to point that out last season, that gender thing with the Valancourt, or no, not the Valancourt, the princess that was promised. So I do think that could happen. Something could, like, but again, I feel like Azor Ahai is going to apply to lots of different characters by the end, like everything in this series.
Everybody has a flaming sword.
Yeah.
All 13 of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no one single person. It's everybody.
I am interested to see what they're going to do with all that dragon glass, like looking at the armor and everything.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
That was one of the cool things about the lighting of that trailer, is that you did get to see on the shoulders, you know, the dragon glass everywhere, on the shield, you know, at the spear tips are all dragon glass. That is really important.
I hope they don't, I said this at the time, I hope they don't go too DC Comics on it and make it too dark that you can't make out things. I know somebody said that maybe they deliberately darkened it a little bit so that you can't see everything. Yeah. So that's possible, I guess. And I guess Dragonfire will light it up.
I don't know if you know this, but they do that in the theaters to save money on the bulbs, because they literally turn it down to 2/3 of what the normal lighting is. So filmmakers have to intentionally film it with high lighting, because they know in the theaters they're going to darken it.
That's interesting.
I didn't know that.
But one of my I know it's the long night, so it has to be dark, but one of my favorite scenes is when Jon takes out that White Walker in the snow. It's just such a fantastic scene. So
yeah,
getting lots of that will be fun.
And it is lighted. I mean, it's super well lighted in that fight. It's it wasn't too close up where you get, you know, just a bunch of blurriness. So I really like that.
And I guess we'll have the dragons lighting everything up as well. So that'll be cool. So
one of the things. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, do you think we're going to get any more battles at sea, or like was that it that we got in season 6, that little bit? Because I think, sorry?
Ice cracking.
I hope so, Claire. I hope so.
That's going to be the new drink of 2020.
Yeah.
Ice cracking.
Cracking 2030. I can.
It's going to be the ASMR of drink commercials.
Yeah.
No more Rihanna with her Bud Light or whatever it is. Yeah. Do you want an ice cracking? Ice cracking, baby.
But now I'm an ice spider.
Oh my. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get ice spiders.
No. Krakens would be cool. I mean, there was that nice little bit in Fire and Blood where, you know, the dead brought all the Krakens to them. That's cool.
Warrior Girl 113, thanks for being here. She says, I'm sure the second trailer will drop tonight. What do you think? 2 weeks. Dun 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 dun.
I don't know if I can handle it.
Ice Dragon.
Do they always do 2 trailers? Do they always do 2 trailers before? I don't remember. I don't follow this stuff. I don't know. This
is not a formula TV show this year.
Yeah. I feel like they couldn't really show us much more, right? There's not.
They could show us a lot more.
They could show us a lot more, but like without giving away too much. Could they show us? Is there a lot more they could show us? I guess they didn't show us much dialogue in the trailer, so they could show us something with dialogue. That would be interesting. But yeah. I'm excited.
I can't determine whether that's real or not. In that some people are saying that we're not going to get a second trailer. Some people are saying it's already dropped last night. But yeah,
the first episode is already aired. Yeah, exactly.
And we have the documentary now to look forward to. So
yeah, the making of. Yeah,
anything to make money.
Yeah,
definitely. Kieran Peer has a question. In Westeros, only Targaryens burn their dead. Burning the dead prevents men from turning to whites. Is that a coincidence? Or do the Valyrians know something we don't?
It's also a tradition in Essos, isn't it? To burn the dead?
And the Tullys as well.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Claire. The Oracle strikes again.
But it could be. There could be a connection there. I think there are certain things that we are supposed to remember. And we're reminded of things like the North remembers. And I think, I've said this before, we've forgotten what it is we're supposed to remember. But there are little things that slip through the cracks, like it's part of our culture to burn the dead. Well, why? Why is that? Well, we don't really know, but it's always been the case. Perhaps it's been that way for 1,000 years. Long enough for people to forget what they're supposed to be remembering, and things are carried on through songs and stories and things. We don't have vlogging in Westeros in these times, so you're not able to get a good handle on history generally. But I think things like that are almost like a kind of hangover of things that, old wives' tales, traditional songs that are passed down. And I mean, we've talked about this when we've done our rereads. Catherine's talked about, Irish traditions and how things are preserved in history through folklore and things like that. So that exists, but I think primarily people generally they're not able to record the information that they want to because it's controlled by the Meisters. So they only get to, certain things slip through, like, tales that are told at bedtime from mother to daughter, that sort of thing still survives. But people don't know why. They don't remember why. They don't know where the origins of things came from.
Right.
So I think that could be another, yes, maybe once we definitely knew that we had to burn the dead because they could rise again. We knew that, but then that was lost. Magic was lost. The seasons were flipped upside down, and we lost that knowledge. We kind of know that there's something that we're supposed to remember, but none of us can agree what that thing is that we're supposed to remember. Like there was a wall that somebody built. We're not quite sure who did that or how long ago it was, but it's there, and there are certain traditions around it. But yeah, I'm going too deep now. But I think that could have been the case, that at some point somebody said, we need to burn the dead because this happens. And that's the things that slip through the gap in terms of folklore. But it's not just the Targaryens, it's the Tullys. And who did you mention, Kat? There are other families.
I think in Essos they do burn, I believe. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that there are definitely things that have been forgotten, and that's very much echoes George's original inspiration for this, which was Hadrian's Wall, which people did lots of ceremonial things at Hadrian's Wall throughout the Middle Ages without knowing what Hadrian's Wall was for. Most people forgot what the Romans were. they lost touch with that culture to the point where they didn't even have stonemasons that were trained in the building methods of the Romans, and they would make up stories about this ancient race. And it wasn't even that ancient. It was only a couple of 100 years gone. But because the Romans didn't educate these people, they didn't spread, they kept the culture very much almost in a caste system. People just forgot.
Yeah, and no apprentice. Without apprentices, it's very hard to pass that on.
It is interesting. It occurred to me last night in one of the streams that it's interesting. I think it was the Maesters, the Maesters conspiracy that Lauren had on her channel. It's interesting that Qyburn is now the only Maester we have going into season 8, because I doubt we're going to go back to the Citadel.
In Winterfell, the Bolton's Maester is there.
Is it? Is he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's his name?
Maester.
God, I don't even have a picture of him in my head.
Yeah, he's kind of.
Oh, I do.
Tall.
I know the guy you're talking about. Yeah. I do know. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, but of significance, I guess. Do you know, Qyburn is the only named one, I guess.
Well, he's a hand also, so it's definitely different.
Yeah, it's weird though to go from like them being like so prominent in the first series to now. Not so much until Sam, I guess. Maybe, although I don't know if Sam is ever going to go take the Maester title.
Do you think the show will do a couple of, and again, I think this potentially could be something that D&D indulge themselves in, whether or not they'll do their own little, completely separate from what George would do, but their own little, da-da! You didn't realise this, did you? And there'll be some sort of twist where it's like, and here's who the reveal of Qyburn really is, and it'll be nothing to do with what's going on in the books, and it'll be their own little interpretation of like this, because he is very influential. He's right there, isn't he? He's got Cersei's ear, definitely. He's created Robert Strong for her, so he is a very influential character. And I think I have no idea who it would be, but I think there will be a couple of, maybe in like the 4th or 5th episode of the 6, where there'll be a couple of little D&D only reveals of certain characters, or maybe not. Maybe just Qyburn is Qyburn. There isn't going to be that at the end of it. Maybe there's not enough time for it because we're busy with the, Grey Worm and Missandei snogging scenes. So
I think definitely Qyburn is definitely, it's either Qyburn's going to try and kill Cersei or Cersei's going to kill Qyburn. That relationship is definitely tense now,
right?
Because I don't think he was on board with her decisions towards the end of the last season at all. I mean, in the books, it's completely different. Yeah, the way, and there's a picture they released where he's giving her a bit of a side eye. It's like, what?
Oh, you mean when she's looking out at the water? Yeah.
And I think,
but he always has that look on his face.
Yeah, but I think he knows the risk better than she does, or at least he's. In the books, it's totally different. Of course, I think Qyburn has completely.
What if the third reveal is that Rob's head is on the mountain?
Oh, I'm okay. I don't mind. It's all right. But if that's the reveal, I don't think that's
anticlimactic.
I don't think that is it going to be it. If that is it, I'd be kind of secretly okay with that, because it means they won't be giving away anything too spectacular from the books then.
Because there isn't anything spectacular from the
books. No, but like George is keeping it to himself.
Yeah.
I mean, George has been talking a lot lately. And saying it's going to end differently to the way I'm ending it and all this kind of thing. So,
are you in agreement that there is a rift between D&D and George?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think my position is perhaps quite a controversial one, but I think that just imagine this is your life's work, this masterpiece that you've created where there's this enormous fandom. This is your opus, would you trust 2 TV producers, filmmakers to retell that story, your story. No, I don't think you would. I don't think anybody would. Especially if you're the kind of person who's come from a creative background, just think about that for a second. Your life's work you hand to somebody else to retell that story cinematically on the big screen. So I think what happened was, by the time D&D approached, or they had that meeting, whatever, with George had got to the point where he was on he'd done Feast, and he was kind of working on Dance. And he knew at that point, when he started this saga, there wasn't forums and the internet and theories left, right, and centre, but there were. By the time that D&D approached him and said, look, we want to recreate your story, he must have known because of the type of writer that he is, they're going to have that finish. And he's from a TV producing background. They're going to have that finish before I finish my story. However, look at all this stuff that people are saying online on the internet about theories and what they've come up with, and R plus L equals J, all of that kind of stuff. It's there. There's a portion of the community, of the fandom, that need that story to be told. So I'll give it to them. I'll give it to D&D. I've asked them these questions. They have answered in the way typically that the fandom would. They're obviously fans of the books, and they've scratched beneath the surface a little bit. That's not the answer to the question, but it's good enough that it satisfies a massive portion of the fandom. Yes, go away, make it happen, make it spectacular on the screen, but that's not my story, and it's not how it will end, because it's my story. It belongs to me. Nobody else can retell that story as well as I can. So
bugger off.
Yeah, also,
exactly.
But also, I think him stepping away is him knowing then that he can't leak too much of the remainder of his story after season 5, right? He's
because no one would buy the books, right?
He's all, well, I think, I'm sure people will buy the books, but I think he'll preserve it for as many readers as wants it to be preserved. I also think Game of Thrones has changed television, and television has changed because of Game of Thrones. And D&D and George R.R. Martin were not expecting that. I mean, you're talking about a guy who took a fairy tale, Beauty and the Beast, and stretched it out, okay? It's very different when you're compacting things.
Or he copied Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, well, but I think, like, I've been really lucky. I've gone to Belfast a couple of times. I've gone to Iceland, Malta, Dubrovnik. I've talked to different extras that have worked on the shows because they were doing our tours, and we met people in those cities. It's so huge, like the enormity of this show, what it takes to actually put this show together. And I've criticized them about bumping uglies with Missandei and Grey Worm. That's, but just the sheer scale of what they do on that show, you can see how D&D might go, okay, George, we can't do that, right? We need to do this, and we need to do this as well as we can. You can see how there might be tension there, but I don't think there'll be any kind of hatred or anything like that. I think that's built up a little bit too much. I think they separated maybe for their own good, for the good of the show, and for certainly on George's part for the good of the books. And that's how I see it. I think what they've done with the show is epic. It really is epic. And when you talk to those guys and the hours that they work, my God, it's crazy. It's epic, really insane. And the love that, like, especially the city of Belfast and Dubrovnik have for, that's why they left Malta, because Malta, but when you talk to people, it was just a bit of a mess. But when you talk, and lots of leaks from Malta, like they knew that Malta was not going to be good for that. But Dubrovnik and Belfast, like, it's a real, like, people really get around it, and they have a real passion for it, not just to make loads of money, which is good for the cities. They really love the show. They love working with the crew. They love working with the cast. And they're just really welcoming cities. And you can see why, like, they've put so much love into it. It's why you get like the Battle of the Bastards. It's why you get Hard Home. You can only get, sure, you've got CGI, but the human effort that goes into that, you're talking like 12 hours lying in puddles. Like that's what they have to do for these things, you know. And you're not going to be on screen potentially, but that's what they have to do for these things.
Nice. Well, I don't want to carry this too much longer because I definitely appreciate the amount of time that you've put into the live stream today. You guys have been epic with all of your answers. And I just so happy to be on a live stream with you two. It's, you know, one of the things that I really wanted to do. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. I love
you.
your live streams. They're fantastic. You've got brilliant guests.
Yes, I've been loving them. Thank you so much. They've been getting me through shitty chemo weeks, so it's great.
if that's all that I did it for, that
honestly,
would be worth it.
It's great. So thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome. I just really appreciate all the effort. Like I said, you guys put in your book rereads. They're one of my favorites. So thanks for being here. I wish you the best. Both of you during the season. I hope all of your characters live and all the characters you hate die really quickly and painfully.
Yeah, that's important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But especially like Davos needs to survive, just saying.
Right. Davos is going to be the grandpa for
he's going to get
Sam's
his spin-off
baby.
show.
Yeah. Sam, Gilly, and baby Sam, little monster, you know, all of those. It's going to be like Little House on the Prairie.
Yep.
So do you have something that's coming up that you want to promote or anything that you want to share with us as far as what your plans are?
So well, we have, go on, carry on. I was just going to say, I think it's on Saturday. It's definitely on Catherine's channel, but we are doing a breakdown of, you know, just what we expect from season 8 from House Polished. And it's always interesting because you get me and Catherine, but you also get Lisa, and she is just a show watcher. So sometimes you can see we get in, you know, we have to pull ourselves back because we go down deep into the book rabbit hole when we're comparing the TV show and Lisa, and then it's like, no, we can't do that because Lisa's just lost completely, and she's focusing on the TV stuff, which gives a really good element, I think, to the discussion. So that will be on Saturday, and then every Saturday after the TV show airs, so the day before the next episode, we're going to be together and doing our recap of each episode of the season. Yeah.
And I think we've provisionally picked like 7 p.m. UK time. I picked that, but that might change. I'm not sure. So we'll see how it works. But and we'll be actually together for one of those Saturdays, Claire. So
yes, that's true.
We might do it. We haven't talked about it, but I might bring my laptop with me. Could do it in the hotel room. Send the boys to the pub.
Yeah.
As they say on network television, stay tuned.
Yeah.
And we're also, if you follow Catherine and myself on Instagram, we're quite prolific over on Instagram with our nail adventures and swatches and things. But there's also breast cancer awareness year this year. So there are activities going on every month to support Catherine and to get awareness around breast cancer. So follow us both on Instagram, and you'll be able to see what we're doing there for the entire year to promote awareness.
Yes, and I'll be going live this Tuesday. I haven't picked a time yet, but probably around 6 p.m. UK time or 5 p.m.
If anybody
UK
that
time.
doesn't know what's going on, do you want to share what's going on?
Sure, yeah, I have breast cancer. Well, I have breast cancer, but it's been defeated nicely by chemotherapy. So I tested positive for the BRCA gene recently. So that my grandmother died at my age 36 of breast cancer. So we've just realized now that it's a gene in our family, thanks to me. I'm the oldest. So I'll be doing Liquored and Lacquered on Tuesday. That's my regular kind of nail polish show. So I've loads of nail polish that I got from friends and stuff like that. So I'll do it live on Tuesday, and I'll do like a Q&A for anyone that wants to ask me questions about breast cancer and the treatment and all that kind of thing. As you can see, I've kept my hair and everything.
I know, I'm so
I've
excited.
kind of gone, yeah, I lost loads of hair, but I also inherited this from my grandmother that died, really thick Irish peasant labourer hair that it's just there's so much of it. So I got the cancer gene, but I also got the thick hair gene. So I got to keep beautiful that. Yeah, but it was weird. I kind of lost like tons, but I managed to keep loads. But yeah, I'm all about, like, I fell apart. I got diagnosed the week before Christmas. I absolutely fell apart. So I'm not in any denial. If people look at me and go, "You're so positive," I'm just like, I've accepted my lot. So I'm all about demystifying it as much as possible. So if you've any questions at all that you were too afraid to ask, you can ask me anytime, no problem at all. If I don't answer, it's because I can't answer, because I don't know an answer. But if I can answer it, I absolutely will. So yeah, liquid and knackered. And thank you to everybody in this community, everybody in the nail polish community, Claire, everybody AU, for all of your support. It really does help. If you know somebody that's going through a really shit time, just text them and tell them, or email them, tell them that you're thinking of them, because it really does help.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And just to add, if you're in the UK, and especially if you like nail polish, so I'm thinking Lauren, I can see Lauren's corner in the comments there. There is an indie brand that that we're working with throughout the year, who are she's doing a monthly charity polish to support breast cancer awareness, a breast cancer awareness charity in Ireland. So proceeds for those polishes monthly are going straight to that charity. And on her website, so it's Arda's Nails, that's the brand, the indie brand, Arda's Nails. And she's doing a charity polish every month to raise awareness, also to support that charity in Ireland. So yeah, check that out.
And Sister Chic has also created a collection for the Americans. So I've seen the Arda's Nails collection, or the polish for next month, and helped name it and stuff, and it's amazing. So I've seen the spoilers for that. Yes,
I can't wait for that one. Wow.
It's very exciting. I named the last one as well Arryn, which is
called
like
Davos the Onion Knight?
No. But that's why I'm going to get on to Kat about that. We wanted Kat to do one. We'll have to get on to her again, Claire. But yeah, so yeah, there's loads of, but in general, my thing is just like, check your boobs. Know your family history when it comes to these things as well. Because if I hadn't known my family history, I wouldn't have been in the system to be checked regularly. So it's really important to know that. Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing the link, and thank you to David for also sharing our links as well. You're very good. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody.
Check your boobs. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the greatest news. I've actually have not heard that update, so that's amazing that you're on the
yeah, they got 50% of the tumors. I had a big tumor in my breast, and then 2 smaller ones in my lymph nodes, and they got 50% of them in round 1 of the chemo. So I was really successful. It did almost kill me. I did end up in hospital, but that was another story. But yeah, it's going well. So just have to keep it going. And technology is changing all the time, so you know, gotta live in hope. But and I kind of decided early on, I can be miserable about it, and you know, enjoy whatever time I have being miserable, or I can take every single day and be as positive as possible. There's no use in, you know, whatever happens, I have to try and keep living life as happily as possible. It's hard, but I'm doing it. So, thank you, Lady Laura Dane. That's amazing. Thank you.
Can you
congratulations
tell everybody about your podcast?
Oh yeah, so this has been on hiatus since this happened, but we actually have bought all the equipment back up to start recording this week. So I do have a podcast with my husband called The Way We Are, and initially we started it off because we wanted to talk about, you know, our experiences with the modern world, self-development, all that kind of thing. It was so funny because the week I got diagnosed, I remember Ivan turned to me and like he had tears in his eyes because, well, we cried a lot that week, but he just said, he's like, I guess we'll have a lot to talk about on the podcast now, but we haven't actually got around to recording yet. So just with everything going on. So yeah, we're hoping to get back into that soon because we really enjoy doing that together. But it's the Way We Are podcast, but I'll make sure to plug it lots when we start back up again.
Absolutely. Because I honestly would have missed it if I didn't have to dig, deeper than I would normally do.
we didn't plug it that much until we were still finding our feet, really. And then this happened. And honestly, I was sick a lot in the run up to being diagnosed. I kept getting, that's another thing that you need to watch, folks. I kept getting like viruses and tonsillitis and things that I'd never gotten before. And so it kept like it was kind of sporadic, the release of certain episodes. So yeah, that's something that when we start back up, we want to be able to do it as regularly as we can. Without putting pressure on ourselves, but also just for the listener that there's a kind of a regular release, if you like.
Nice.
But thank you for bringing that up, AU. You're very good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm here to help you as much as I can, and you being here is helping me a tremendous amount because I just love talking about it, and if I don't, I'm going to drive my wife crazy. So yeah, it's a huge help for me. Yeah.
We're here for you.
Absolute pleasure. Are you actually, AU, are you doing anything around the season? Will you be doing recaps and things like that?
All I'm going to do really is a video about the episode. With my new job, I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to do live streams during the week like I used to. So yeah, Wednesdays I'll just release a video on what I think happened, and that'll be it until the end, and then I'll start doing my live streams again.
Well, if you have a burning desire to jump in and chat anytime on a Saturday, feel free. There's an open invitation.
I will be there. That is not an issue. Yeah, I will be on your chats all the time.
But if you want to come in and actually like hang out on the hangout, you're welcome anytime, honestly. Because I know like if you have a burning desire to talk about something, it's like, oh, I wish I was on the chat. Okay, so you're welcome anytime.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. Well, I again want to say thanks for being here. Thanks everybody in the chat for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Again, we'll have another live stream on Saturday, the 6th of April, with Zach King from King Warrior Productions. He's a movie producer, and we'll talk. He's a super big Game of Thrones fan as well. And then on Sunday, we're going to have Angelina High, also from the UK, who's going to be on talking about the similarities between George's writing and the Tolkien world. So similarities between those two stories, The Lord of the Rings and A Song of Ice and Fire. So I hope you guys have a great day. For you in the UK, have a great evening. And thanks for being here.
Bye, guys.